Ladies and gentlemen, your boys from Banditland Boulevard are here to report. It's something that really shouldn't be that new to you guys and loyal
Nope.
Bandit fans out there. For the
Mm-mm.
third consecutive season, the Buffalo Bandits have punched their ticket to the NLL Finals. And I had to throw this guy up in the background. If you guys aren't watching on audio,
Yep.
this guy, Toronto Rock fans, look away because your daddy is in my background right now. Chase Fraser
Nice.
and the Buffalo Bandits bring out the brooms, make that, count them up. One, Swenny does it all the time. Count them up. One, two, three, four, five, six, seven, eight straight postseason victories over the Toronto Rock. We are your
Yep.
owners. The Bandits own that poverty franchise, and we're going back to the NLL Finals for the third consecutive year. Clean sweep, bring out the brooms. Look away, guys. I mean, Chase Fraser's right there. Just don't stare because he's right there. Tony, how are you feeling after both games one, which was a complete ass whooping, and game
Yep.
two, which was, yeah, a bit of a nail biter, like you said off air. But how'd you feel after that clean sweep of our arch rival?
Well, all I can say is I got no voice right now, and thankfully we got a week off so I can get my voice back for this
I'm
finals.
lucky I actually have one right now.
But you know what? I am stoked and I am so proud of these boys, how well they played defensively in both games, especially to keep Toronto under 10 and on average 6 goals against per game. What you could say about your offense, how much we've averaged 11 goals per game for that series. But again, it's all based on one man who still has so much game left in him, and that is our good old goaltender, Matt Vince.
I mean,
Proving all you doubters, all you haters, oh, we should get rid of him. Oh, he's done. He's not done. He is only beginning. And believe me when I say this, he looks phenomenal right now with our defensive setup.
he looks like he's in his prime. What was it? 9 goals last week against Georgia, then four in game one to Toronto, where the
Mhm.
Bandits beat them 12-4 in game one, and then it was
Right.
eight because the Bandits beat them 10-8 in game two yesterday.
Yep.
Overall, I mean, game one, I could comfortably, turn off the game and kind of follow it the rest of the way after halftime. 5-0 at the half in
Yep.
game one. You want to talk about a punch and a slap in the face to a team that was in first place this year. I believe it was the career or franchise record 15 wins in a season, something the Bandits haven't
Yep.
even done. The only other two, I mean, two of those three losses came against the Bandits in the regular season, one at home,
And
one on
then
the road, and then their only other loss was against the San Diego Seals in the regular season. And then you're talking about a 15-3 team going into game one against the Bandits, a team that they have seen. I mean, if you're their head coach and you're a Toronto Rock fan, you had to go into that series with the mindset, you fool me once, 2019, fool me twice, 2022, fool me thrice, 2023, not four times. There's no way this team can lose to the Bandits four times and have a whole pandemic in between those four losses and still come out on the losing end. There's just no way that's going to happen. What does Buffalo do in game one, Tony? They go in and smack them right across the face. Uh, Literally and figuratively, because the end of the game there was some punches being thrown between a couple
there
players.
was.
Just talking about game one first, because I
Yep.
mean, going in chronological order, 12-4. It was after that game, Tony, where I said it's over. These guys are getting swept. No matter how ugly it is in game two, how low scoring it might be, even if there is a rally between Toronto and the next game, that 12-4 opening loss in game one, that was enough for me to see to be like, all right, we are sweeping unless proven otherwise.
Yeah, I completely agree because of the fact of how defensively we played against Toronto, especially with the best of the best that they brought upon us with Schreiber, Rogers, Matthews. I could name their whole roster with offensive power, but they just did not seem like themselves in the first game. And a lot of the fans out there, especially for Rock City, to go in there and go, what in God's name are we doing? We're only averaging a goal a period and we're getting spanked like we're the children of the freaking National Lacrosse League. And again, the Bandits had a game plan and they set the pace. They came out scoring first and they didn't look back. It was basically a butt whooping. And let me tell you, when I say this, is that after that first half, when it was only 5-0, yeah, a handful of goals can still be made up because, like you said before, Trevor, it was a game of runs. But
Yep.
according to the defense of the Bandits, it was not a game of runs. It was all about protecting Vince and defensively just shutting down their offense. And boy, oh boy, did they did a fantastic job blocking shots.
So
All I
good.
got to say is defenseman Paul Dawson, you are like the second goaltender to Matt Vince.
DJ Pauly D. Yep.
Unrealistic signing. It is beautiful to have you and have Vince on the same page together. And it's so dangerous that this defense has gotten stronger ever since Paul Dawson became a Buffalo Bandit.
And we mentioned Matt Vince before, but when was the last time we saw a complete shutout and a half? We've never seen it, I guarantee you, from a 41-year-old goalie. I guarantee you that's never happened before. But, dude, and you mentioned Paul Dawson. Like, he has turned Steve Priolo into a superstar again. Steve Priolo,
Yes, he has.
he was struggling in the first half of this year a lot, and he was struggling in the playoffs a little bit last year too. With Paul Dawson's presence just being there, Steve Priolo is on his best game too. When you have Matt Vince, Steve Priolo, and Paul Dawson and that three-headed monster, good luck, because Toronto, they seem to run into a figurative wall going up against those guys. Schreiber was shut down. Corey Small, where was he even to be found in game one?
Nowhere.
I mean, it was a little bit of a different story in game two, but we beat this horse to death on this show talking about the secondary scoring from this team, and game one showed a boatload of secondary scoring.
Sure did.
Right out of the gate. What we had, Fraser came back. He no goals in the quarterfinal matchup. Daddy's home facing against the Toronto Rock. I mean, this is a guy that scores the through the legs, one hand on the stick goal against the Rock, the behind the back shots against the Rock. He's the one that gets cross-checked in the face in that one Tucker out game a couple years ago and scores 4 with blood dripping out his nose. This guy owns Toronto. If there was an MVP like in baseball, if there was an MVP of the championship series going into the finals, Chase Fraser is my MVP of the series without a shadow of a doubt. But you can't not talk about secondary guys. They don't even have to score to even be mentioned. Nick Weiss was stepping up defensively and throwing haymakers with Billy Hochstrasser. Yep, and Paul Dawson, Steve Priolo, Tehoka Nanako, Chris Kluche, Dane Smith, the assist machine, the go-getter, Josh Byrne. This team is in a rhythm. They are clicking. This is the same story last year, except for the fact that from last year there were 2 convincing wins in the best 2 out of 3 against Toronto. Yesterday in game 2 was a little bit the heart rate was kind of going there in the third quarter and the fourth quarter, and we're kind of sitting there like, what's going on? Are we really thinking about a game 3 coming up here? But we can get into that in a little bit. But game 1 was probably the most. And it seems like we keep saying this every week, but I love saying this. I love that this trend keeps continuing. But that was the most complete game of the season.
Yes, it was.
I remember saying that 3 weeks ago 4 weeks ago against Philly. I remember saying that against the Desert Dogs. I remember saying that. I love this trend that we're getting into. That was the most complete game of the season. 12-4. Nick Rose was pretty much the only reason why they were, the Bandits didn't score 20. Nick Rose was stepping up. He was doing all he could back there to make those saves. He was getting it was getting to the point where the Toronto coach pulled him, not because he was doing poorly, but because they wanted to send a message to the rest of the team. They said, you're not going to step up for Nick Rose. We're going to put our backup in there, and maybe that'll send a message. Still, I mean,
didn't really do anything.
all he did was trip on an empty net. Did you see that at the end of the game where Dane Smith
that was
went in at the end, and he kind of just tripped, and I was like, oh, that's kind of how the whole night was going for Toronto. But no one expected the Bandits to not show up in game 1. That was a game. I had the Bandits winning game 1. You definitely had the Bandits winning game 1. I mean, not by 8 goals, but I had winning the game in convincing fashion. But that was just the tone setter of this great series. We can mention the goal scorers. My player of the game in game 1 is Matt Vince, though, without a shadow of a doubt. What was it, 53 shots, 4 goals go in?
54 of 58.
54 saves on 58 shots. This dude is 41 freaking years old. Matt Vince.
And he still got it.
Let the naysayers that don't like Matt Vince in maybe week 12 of the season, if he had a bad game, what are they saying now? What are the Matt Vince haters saying now? We go in, we punch another ticket to the finals. We're not doing that with Devlin Shanahan starting. We're not doing that with Steve Orleman starting. Sorry.
No.
But we're not in the position we are without 48 back there. And he's definitely my player of the game in game one.
I couldn't agree more. Matt Vince again, like you said, 41 years old and still going, getting older, but he's still getting better. No matter what I can say about this team and how Matt Vince has been playing so well in the last 6 games now, and also coming back from his injury, it like was a recharge to him. It was back. He went back in time to bring his Matt Vince young self back,
Went
and
back
it
to
was
2012.
unreal how, yeah, and in championship mode, that's what he's in. It's in lock now. It's like he wants to win another one as much as that team, as the Buffalo Bandits, want to win another second one back to back. But again, with great goaltending comes great defense, and again, with the signing of Paul Dawson, is a huge asset to this team, especially like you mentioned with bringing up Steve Priolo's game and bringing up with the youngsters like we have with like Martin, with Bomberry, and I could name you the rest of them. But again, it was just something that it was like that extra spark and the electricity flowing through this defense. And I'm not saying they're perfect, but it definitely picked up the defensive mode and got the toughness back that we deserved. And boy, oh boy, when Matt Vince looked good, stopping 54, 58, especially going side to side on the net, like he was Dominic Hasek in the Buffalo
Yep.
Sabres mode. Oh my God, it brought back a jolt of energy in me and going, did he just pull a Hasek on
You just pull
the
a Steve
Toronto Rock,
Dietrich.
especially like he does
Yeah.
in the blue with the Maple Leafs? My
Oh no,
God,
sorry,
it
not
is
it wasn't
unreal.
Steve Dietrich. Did he just pull a vintage patio tool across crease
Patty
save?
O'Toole. Good
That was a
grief.
patio tool save right there.
Woo.
Or maybe even a Kenny Montour. Yeah, he used to
It
dive
could have been.
these a couple times too. But
Yeah.
I mean, and
Love it.
Paul Dawson, dude, the player that needs to be the mentor to Zach Belter. The fact that you have Paul
Yeah.
Dawson there, dude, that's Zach Belter had a fantastic game too, and we'll talk about that um, as we move on. But we got to get into that fight, Tony, at the end of the game.
Sure.
The game was getting out of hand. It was right after a goal was scored. The game
Yep.
was well over at this point, and
Of course.
Billy, no, who else other than number 91 in blue and red, slash
God.
taking a late swing at Nick Weiss, and Nick Weiss saying, "You know what? You're losing and you're frustrated. Let's go, buddy boy." Drops the
Yeah,
gloves.
might as well.
Nick Weiss is he's leaking, he's dripping blood, and he's firing up the crowd. And he won the heavyweight player of the game in game one, and you knew that was going to boil over a little bit in game two, but I
Of
love
course.
even the fact that this team is up 12-4. They're still playing like the game is tied and they want to keep the scoring going. And Nick Weiss brings that competitive fire every single week. And it was, I honestly think, long overdue. We didn't see a fight in the Hamilton game in regular season. We didn't see, or on the road game, we didn't see it in the home game either. We didn't see the gloves being shed at all. So that
Right.
was kind of boiling over for the last few times that we played them. I'm glad that Nick
Mhm.
Weiss stepped up and fought a coward like Billy Hostrauser, and I'm sick of seeing him out there on the field. He's the first player to slash one of your guys, and he will, which we'll talk about in game two. He will go down and fake injuries to slow momentum down. I'm sick of seeing a guy like Billy Hostrauser, and it shows the zero class the Toronto Rock organization has for making a bobblehead night for that freaking bum last year against us. It's a joke. You're gonna put that guy on a bobblehead? A complete joke. A diver, someone who can't take a hit, somebody who hates losing and cries when he's losing. There's no room in the game for that. And I love Nick Weiss not stepping down from a guy like him.
Yeah, Nick Weiss, like I said, he's again one of those go-to transition, also probably a defenseman that we love to have on our team. And he does show the toughness, and that's why he's one of the assistant captains. Um, the fact that Nick Weiss has always got your back, no matter who you are on the team, you could be the one player just growing into the team's chemistry and starting to learn, or you could be a longtime veteran who might be going out the door on his last season. But Nick Weiss has your back no matter what,
Yep.
no matter if you're new or old. If you're in trouble, he's there to back you up no matter what. And that's great that he did not take any BS from Billy Hostrauser.
Thank
Um,
God, man.
like you said again, I don't know what the man's problem is. And because they know they just can't win games, so they figure they try to win fights. And he still couldn't even win fights,
No.
even if he made Nick Weiss bleed. And Nick Weiss
Oh,
is
and he did
a
it. He
tough
busted him open. I
son
think
of
he
a
got.
bitch, if I might say that
Oh,
on the air.
I think he
Oh
got
my
like
God.
7 stitches, man, or something like
And he
that.
still came
Under
back to
his.
game 2 to play. And what does that tell you? He's in it for the long run, and good for him too, because he contributed as well. If it was the first game, he had a couple assists. In the second game,
Yep.
he had maybe another few more. But again, he contributes no matter what he does. And this is what we always like to talk about too, is about the secondary scoring, is how huge it is in this depth of our team right now that we have that ability, that we don't have to rely again on Josh Byrne and Dane Smith to score all the goals. We have the guys that can back them up and score as well. But again, to just only average 11 goals per game against the Rock, my magic number is still 14 no matter what,
And it
even
should
if
be
it's going
going into the
against Albany
championship.
next round. But still,
Yep.
that's the number to hit. But they did it because of defensively. So for Nick Weiss to come out and back people up, awesome job on his part for making a statement.
Always has. He always has too. I mean, he's been on the team since what, 2017, 2016.
I believe you're right.
He's always been the first guy to stick up for someone. If they get a bad slash behind the play, or if God forbid he does, like it did in game one,
Oh yeah,
he got chopped in the leg, I think it was, and he's like, "Oh, you want to do this? Let's go, bring it. We're
he
beating you on the
wasn't gonna let
scoreboard.
that go.
We are beating you on the scoreboard. Let me beat you at midfield, fist to
Right.
fist, 1-on-1." But yeah, that was great, and that shows you why Nick Weiss is an assistant captain on this team. His leadership is
Yes, sir.
second. I mean, it's not even close to being second ranked. It's top tier.
Yep.
We could talk about game one all we want and how great that game was, but let's go to
Sure.
Sunday. Sunday was
Yeah.
that was the opening act. This is the main event. Game two was the main event.
Yes, sir.
What started off looking very, very promising, like maybe the Bandits would run away with this one in the first quarter, leading 3-2 off of a Dane
Yep.
Smith goal. Dane Smith jumping right out of the gate, scoring a goal was fantastic, and leading 3-2, we're like, oh, we could put this away at ease, and if this is anything like game one, it's not even going to be close in the fourth quarter.
It
Oh,
wasn't
how we
like
were
that.
wrong. And I will give Toronto credit because they, for the most, for I would say maybe for 47 minutes of the game, went
Hmm.
with that mentality of flush it and recharge and go into Sunday and even the series because they
Sure.
stepped up. I thought they were dead after game one. I'm like, these guys are going to be hobbling into the KeyBank Center, and what was
Uh-huh.
close to a sellout crowd. What I would say, I only saw a few Toronto Rock jerseys. I would say probably
I
19,000
barely
plus.
saw any fans of the Toronto Rock go.
Um, they're going to come into the loudest barn since
Yep.
1992 consistently.
Hmm.
I thought they were left on the side of the road for dead. I thought they were roadkill after game one. They came in
Right.
the first 47 minutes of the game. They were looking good. They weren't backing down. At one point, they were up 8-4,
8-4.
8-4 in the fourth quarter. And
Yep.
I don't know. Our family was discussing this after the game. We said just by looking at the players on the bench that Toronto had and their celebrations where Corey Small goes in and scores a goal. Maybe it was the sixth or seventh goal, and he starts
6.
banging on the glass, instigating Bandits fans. They thought this game was over, Tony. They
Yeah.
thought the game was done. They're like, all right, let's not get anybody injured. I mean, we're still going to try to kill some clock because that was kind of their mentality in the fourth quarter. Just drain the clock out, and even if you get a 30-second clock violation, it doesn't matter because we're up by 4. They
Right.
thought the game was done. And you cannot convince me otherwise. Buffalo came back in that fourth quarter with a vengeance. 8-5, eight
Yeah.
six, 8-7, 8-8, 9-8. I've been watching that fourth quarter on YouTube like on repeat. When I'm not working on my off time, I've been watching that, just kind of looking at the crowd's reaction, looking at the player celebrations. This dude back here, Chase Fraser, high stepping to the Toronto bench with the go-ahead score to go up 9-8, which ended up being the game-winning goal.
Yep.
The look on the bench of the head coach of the Toronto Rock after it was 10-8. Someone in Bandits Mafia took a picture of it when it was 10-8, and they captioned it with, I think it was maybe, I don't even remember who it was. I don't want to mistake anyone,
Is
but
it a cartoon character? I'm thinking what you're
no,
thinking.
it was him. It was the actual picture of the Toronto coach, and it
Oh,
said,
okay.
and it was 10-8 on the scoreboard, and it said, "This is
Yep.
the look of what the hell just happened."
Exactly.
They thought the game
He
was
looked like,
wrapped up. They thought it was wrapped
yeah.
up. Chase Fraser, Josh Byrne, Tehoka Anakoke said, "Oh, this game is not over. You stay in your seats right now.
Hmm.
We're not going down without a fight." And after that ninth goal went in, Tony, Toronto rolled
Mhm.
over. Toronto rolled
Yeah.
over and let the Bandits kick them around for the rest of the game. It was Tehoka Nanticoke was offered a penalty shot with less than 10 seconds to go because
Yeah, I
Toronto
failed
had
on that one.
7 guys on the field with less than 2 minutes to go. So they thought the game was over. And then when the Bandits tied it up and took the lead, they were all flustered and were like, what the hell's going on? What do we do? Like, we just had the lead. Where'd our points go? So
Yeah.
talk about a come from behind, shades of 2023 Buffalo Bandits finish. It was absolutely phenomenal. Some of the loudest defense chants from Chris Swenson, some of the loudest "Let's Go Bandits" chants I've ever heard. Every time we scored, I thought the roof that's going to be soon replaced by the Terry Pagula, I thought that was going to blow off the place. And it's
Yes.
getting so loud in the first quarter of that game. We sit in 106. The speaker on
Yep.
our side blew out.
Oh, Jesus.
Or
I didn't know
in the
that.
second quarter, our speaker blew out, and then we're like, "Oh, we got it fixed here in the second half." All right, cool. We were just that loud. I think we were kind of just pressing the gain on it, and I don't know if it was going over Swenny's mic or whatever it was, but something caused that speaker to go out. But it come from
Aye,
a
aye.
showdown. They had the reminder that Daddy's home. Sweep dreams,
Yep.
put the brooms out, send those guys packing, and send those referees packing too. Because game two, at least in the first half, I thought they were. I don't know. You can talk about the boarding call. You can talk about the what the 5 minute major where Ian McKay hit the guy in the chest and they gave him a
Yeah.
5 minute major.
Yep.
Again, you know, another day, another dollar where the Bandits beat two teams and get only credited with one win. Nothing new, but
Mhm.
game two was electric, Tony. And those when the clock hit 12 minutes to go in the fourth quarter, that was when something switched and the boys came back firing.
Yeah, they sure did. And it's like, you know what? I like this don't quit attitude. And especially like you mentioned it again, I could probably repeat myself 1,000 times what you're saying. This is a game of runs and a 6 goal run basically put the jaws from normal down to the floor for the Toronto Rock going,
Yeah.
what is going on here? Like, how is this happening? We're not allowing this team to come back and beat us. You did. And
Go
guess what?
back. Go
We're
back
moving
and
back
watch.
down to the finals.
Yep.
And this is and the
Just like old
sad part
times.
is like you said too, is that Toronto was really in control from basically the start of the second quarter to almost the beginning of the fourth quarter.
Yep.
And again, the laid back type oh yeah, we'll just kill some time. It's gonna be fine. Now we're in cruise mode. Well, that cruise mode decided to get a little rupture because of the fact that you still have a team you have to kind of stop from coming back. And when you allow teams to do that, to allow them to make a move and start scoring goals with at will, and what happens? Your game style decision making of hosting the whole rest of the way backfired on your ass.
But guess
That's
what?
what happened.
It's backfired on us too. We know that
It
first.
has.
When we play
It
like that,
has. That's
we
why we
lose.
stopped doing that.
Yep, when we play like that, we lose 9 times out of 10.
Exactly.
If you're a
I
Toronto
couldn't agree
player,
more.
you have to wake up this morning thinking, why did we stop? You guys had Matt Vince beat. That eighth goal that went through his 5 hole, I'm like, we might be getting
Yep.
up for a game 3 right now. They had all the momentum. All they needed to do was keep shooting.
Yep. And they didn't.
I credit the Bandits for a hell of a comeback, but Toronto, what are you, just from a lacrosse fan standpoint, throw my Bandits bias out the window. Why would you stop? That just makes zero sense. They had the momentum in their favor. And then the Bandits go
Yep.
on a 3-goal. I think they went on a run to go up when they were down 8-4 to made it 8-7 in a minute 50. After that goal from
Yeah.
sunk in the back of the net. Oh, no, it was from Josh Byrne, the 7th goal. Sunk
Yes.
in, and I looked up at the scoreboard and I saw we had 10 minutes to play. I'm like, oh, boy.
Lots of time.
Bandits have kicked the door down. They've broken into the house again. They're ready to take these boys down.
Yep.
And it was great too. Those celebrations that Toronto were giving us and giving the fans, and I love that Chase gave it right back to him. I mean,
Sure
Corey
did.
Small was one of my favorite Bandits, but dude, you're on the opposition now. You went to Toronto, like you could have gone to Calgary, like Thomas Hogarth did. You could have gone to Saskatchewan. We don't really care. You're playing for Toronto. If you expect me to root for you when you're playing for the Toronto Rock, you got another thing coming, bro.
Yeah.
When you're banging on the glass, instigating Bandits fans, Chase Fraser's high stepping, yeah, you kind of deserve that. It was just an insane rally and how loud it was. I'm surprised my ears still aren't ringing from that final and fourth quarter. But what another thing I did love, I will say with the referees on this, they called Billy Hostrouser out on his bullshit in the
Yep.
first quarter when we went on that 2-man advantage to go up 3-2. There
Yep.
was an original delayed penalty being called. I don't remember what it was on. But then behind the play, Hostrouser cross checks Ian McKay in the back, and then they get
Sure
the
did.
penalty and they send them both. It was Mitch DeSnew, who has absolutely turned into a diva. I mean, this guy has turned into a guy who won't keep his mouth shut. He's trying to chirp
Yep.
the Bandits bench. I'm like, okay, you flat-footed monster. I don't know why you're chirping the Bandits bench in the first quarter when you're down 1-0 in the series. That's not really a smart thing to do. When I saw DeSnew and Hostrouser both go to the penalty box, this is something that doesn't get talked about enough in this game. I felt a sense of euphoria. Seeing both of those guys go to the box where they truly belong. It seemed like they sometimes get away with murder when they face against us, but when you see them go to the box, I have no ill will towards that.
No, ever since we let go of Mitch DeSnew and then Billy Hostrouser, just as always, as he's been playing like kind of scummy and disappointing as I would be, if you want to be a top-notch defenseman, you play tough, yes, but don't be a dick either.
Keep your mouth shut.
And keep your mouth shut. There's going to be chirping. I'm not going to say that there's not going to be, but if you're going to beat us, then just beat us. I mean, I'd rather have respectful ways of saying it like that than to have you go out there, not only get your ass beat twice and still become a scumbag in the process, but, they have a long way to go to gain anybody's respect about this sport if you're going to keep playing like that. And again, if that's what you kind of deserve, if you are going to be a dick, you're going to lose, and you're going to lose bad. So,
and then he's going to stay down after Fraser scores the 9th goal. He's going to stay down to slow momentum down. Nick Rose is going to get shoved into, or somebody's going to shove Tehoka Nanticoke into Nick Rose and stop the play.
Yeah, their defenseman pushed him into him.
As soon as the play is called and the whistle comes out, Nick Rose magically gets up. I mean, I'm sick of this faking injuries nonsense. And losing a 4-goal lead in the fourth quarter couldn't have happened to a better team in the Toronto Rock, because I'm so sick and tired of them, the way that their style of play. I don't know if that's coach or if they just say, hey, we're going to stay down. We're going to try to slow down momentum. But the trainer's coming out running as if Nick Rose got shot back there. I'm like, guys, he got tapped. Nat Vince has been flipped end over end, and he's gotten up.
That's right.
Who are we kidding? Their style of play, bye-bye, Toronto. You lost to Boston in the quarterfinals, and then the next day the Bandits eliminate the Toronto. They don't even play in Toronto, so I don't even know why I'm calling you that. The Bandits beat them the day after. Like the Bandits put out there on their social media, Toronto golf courses, I hear, are pretty popular around this time of year, so that's perfect.
Oh my God.
10-8 was the final score in Game 2. An absolute. I think I'd rather lose Game 2 15-1 and have the game be over by halftime than have a 4-goal lead and blow it late and lose the series. Couldn't have happened to a better team, though. And the team that was beating them couldn't have been a better team either. But everything is in front of us again. The Bandits it's going to be an all New York finals for the first time in history. Buffalo versus Albany. I'll tell you what, dude, I am going to Game 1 in Albany. We are making that trip down to MVP Arena. I believe it's May 17th. This team has earned it. Like, if you told me back in March that we're going back to the finals, everything's fine, I would have said, you're out of your mind. We lose in overtime to Panther City, and we lose in regulation to the Warriors, and we're like, how can we – are we even going to make the playoffs? Fast forward 2 months later, the Bandits go back to the finals where they go. And if they win this year, Tony, put the D word out there. Put the word dynasty. Buffalo Bandits, because if they go into Albany against this young team with a ton of firepower and beat these guys the same way they beat Toronto, same way they beat Georgia, throw that word out there, because they've definitely earned it.
Yes, they have. And especially with the 3 games that we have played so far and kept our opponents under 10 goals per game. What does that tell you?
It's just like
what
last
does that
year.
Tell them?
Just like last year.
It basically means experience can definitely show the youth a lot of pain if they decide they want to play with us again. So again, we go back to the finals and we got to go face a younger team. But again, I've got a great feeling that the experience is going to overcome the youth because they have a long way to go to earn that respect from us. So, two teams who have gone 11-7 in a year meet in the final dance. And you know what? That's fine with me because we have the right timing, especially how we are trying to get into the playoffs in the position that we finished. And not only that, it's been win after win after win. And we are only 2 games away from completing the story again. So buckle up, boys and girls. This series is going to be fun to watch.
Oh, it's going to be phenomenal. And it starts with a sweep of the Toronto Rock, just like in 2019, just like in 2022, just like in 2023. It's absolutely fantastic. And if I have to give out a player of the game in game 2, it's this dude right here, Chase Fraser, 95, the Rock Killer himself.
I agree. And the way how he just knows how to score past Nick Rose is unreal. But I'm going to flip things around and basically say for game 2, in my view, I like Tehoka Nanticoke because of the fact that he is tough. He gets in your face. He creates penalties. He creates penalties, and he finds a way to pass the ball even with 4 guys on him on the floor, and he still gets it to Brandon Robinson or he still gets it to Chase Fraser.
Thank you for mentioning that in game
real.
1. That was in game 1. Yeah, somebody had to mention that.
Yeah.
I forgot about that play. I mean, absolutely insane.
Yeah.
And he also, when that ball sunk in to go down 8-6, I'm like, okay, we have life again in game 2. So, he's definitely clutch.
I couldn't agree more.
And I mean, if you go back and watch this on ESPN Plus, I know that we're running out of time here, but when Corey Small poke checked Matt Vince and the delayed penalty was called and they go down and tie the game at 8, they zoom in on him after the goal is scored. And the face that he made, it just said it all. He knew in his heart, if the Bandits tie this game, the game's over. He's been here before. He's been on this team. He knows how they operate under Johnny T. When they tied that goal, or they tied the game with that goal, he knew from the bottom of his heart the game was over. But 12-4 in game 1, 10-8 in game 2. Bring out the brooms once again. I never get sick and tired of saying that about the Toronto Rock. But we go on to the championship against Albany. It's going to be cool. We'll hit you with the preview series sometime during this week because they are on a bye. The first game is May 17th at MVP Arena. We'll have that for you sometime this week. But Tony, hit us with a sponsor.
You got it. Guys, we'd like to thank our main sponsor, and that is Mitchell's Tavern, located at 734 Sheridan Drive up in Tonawanda, New York. For the best beef wick in town, go up there and mention the boys of Banditland Boulevard, myself, Tony LaMonica. Over there is Trevor Howard, and tell them we sent you there to try out their great food, amazing service, and I guarantee you, folks, you will not be disappointed. We also like to thank those this year who have been watching us on YouTube, so we'd like to have you guys subscribe to our channel, and hit that notification bell every time you hear about Buffalo Bandits lacrosse on Banditland Boulevard. Also, we'd like to thank our listeners who, on every device known to man, who has been with us with Spotify.fm/Anchor. Give us that 5-star rating and still to continue on giving you that updates about Buffalo Bandits lacrosse. And we also would like to thank Herney's Journeys for the best way to travel and to book your trips now. I would contact Suzanne Pike over at Suzanne Pike at Herney'sJourneys.com. Let us give you a new adventure.
And let's have the Bandits go on the adventure of a lifetime, too. When they go to Albany, when they go to the state's capital on May 17th, I want Bandits Mafia. I want them to buy their tickets. Make this a home game. Yes, they have a higher
make it a home game,
but make this a home game for the Bandits anyway because we have the fan base to do it. You know how loud that building got in Game 1 against Georgia and in Game 2 against Toronto. Even Game 1 in Toronto was 80-20 as far as Bandit fans are concerned. Dude, why not in the first round of the championship? Once again, we'll have that preview for you sometime during the week, but this confidence that this team must be having right now is probably going through the roof. And those 2 games in the regular season, I will say this about Albany: those 2 games in the regular season don't mean a damn thing now. Colorado last year beat us hard in the regular season.
2022.
The Bandits also started off the playoffs last year 3-0, holding every team to under 10 goals. Guys, the script is writing itself. It's up for the Bandits to execute again, and that's pretty much all on my front. Oh, the one more thing I got to say, Toronto, hold this. Hold that. That's for you. That's for you, Toronto.
I love it. I love it. And by the way, the Maple Leafs are waiting for you at the golf course.
Yeah, they are. Austin Matthews is there with his 5-iron, and Mitch Marner, if he doesn't get moved.
Sorry, Mike Cam. I know you're a fan of the Leafs, but too bad.
Why are you a fan of the Leafs, Mike? Yeah, sorry, but I was pulling for the Bruins. I hope the Bruins get bounced in round 2 by the Cats. But yeah, that's all I got to say. Let's go, Bandits. We got this, and we got this. Just execute. We'll hit you with the preview coming up, but Tony, let's leave with our final 3 words. What are those 3 words?
Ready? Let's
go.
Bandits.
Let's go.
Championship mode. It's time. Let's go.
Defend your crown, boys. Let's go. Sweep, sweep.